Quick warning, this video will have some brief, minor spoilers for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Wahoo and let's go, because Super Mario just released. Not the character who has been around in some form for 40 years. I'm talking about 2023's The Super Mario Bros. Movie, which just released if I get this video out on time. As I'm sure you've seen, this movie isn't exactly loved by critics, but it is by fans. Ayo! To go by Rotten Tomatoes, the movie currently has a 56% critic score and a 96% audience score. Now, I've seen the movie, and I'm not the biggest Mario fan, but I thought it was a good bit of fun. But could it have been better? That seems like a pretty easy question. Yes, obviously it could have been better. The plot is thinner than Mario's glutes, the character arcs are about as present as Yoshi, in the sense that they're there, but only briefly and out of focus, and the pacing's as wonky as my Mario Kart success rate. Also, the needle drops are as out of place as I was in that theater, surrounded by 7-year-olds and Mario mega fans. I think all of those issues could have been fixed. Beef up the plot, add in character arcs, and please, just cut the needle drops. However, while fixing these issues would have made it a better movie, I don't know if it would have made a better Mario movie. This movie had a lot of expectations to meet, being another adaptation of a beloved video game franchise that was already adapted, but not well. Plus, it was receiving hate prior to its release given that it starred Chris Pratt as Mario.
What is this place?
And was made by everyone's favorite animation studio, Illumination. It really did not look good, and I'm sure that was felt internally. This movie had to deliver, not just as a movie, but as a good representation of the characters and world of Super Mario. It also had to appeal to kids and adults alike, as Mario and company are multi-generational. With all that in mind, the movie we actually got feels like the best possible outcome, and fans seem to agree, given the aforementioned 96% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. But is it really? I think there are a few things it could have done better, like, again, cut the needle drops, or just use them better, have more Mario and Luigi, that sort of stuff. But the bigger, more discussed issues with the movie, the pacing, plot, and character arcs, could those have been better, while still retaining the essence of Mario? Pacing is one of the weirdest things to talk about in regards to film. It's hard to define, and there's not a specific way to get it right. It's usually a byproduct of everything else going smoothly. There's not a pacer in film the way that there's a director or a writer or an editor, but the pacing is affected by all three of those people. All that said, the Super Mario Bros. Movie has some weird pacing. The movie just goes by so fast, and there's really no room to breathe. But is that really an issue? Yeah, again, for a movie that's an issue. But this is a movie made to be enjoyable for Mario fans from an extremely young age to like a middle-aged person. It has a wide demographic, and the pacing is so fast to make sure that that wide demographic of fans is never bored. Did it need to be as fast as it was? I doubt it. The Lego Movie was a lot better paced, and that was only 8 minutes longer. However, while the pacing could have been better in the whole fleshing out the story side of things, I think it worked in the maximizing fun side. It wasn't perfect, and I think this complaint is actually genuinely valid, but I think the pacing fits the movie, and it served its purpose well. Here's where things start to get a bit more interesting. The plot of the Super Mario Bros. Movie is pretty simple. Some might even call it paper thin, because it is. It's basically a recruit these other people to help stop a big bad guy movie. There's a little bit more to it than that, but no, not really. Again though, is this a bad thing? Mario games are simple, so it seems fitting that the movie counterpart would be too. Film adaptations could stand to change things like that, flesh out the plot more and whatnot, but a more complex plot in my mind would lose some of the charm of the Mario aspect. Part of the appeal of the games is the simple plot. They're designed to maximize fun, and this movie is too. I've seen so many of these story beats in other movies, and done better in other movies, but that doesn't mean they aren't enjoyable here as well. Also, this movie is only 90 minutes, so it doesn't outstay its welcome even with its paper-thin plot. The simple plot also functions as a good way to introduce the world. Admittedly, almost all of the audience for this movie is at least vaguely familiar with the characters and world of Mario, but a simple plot is a good way to make sure everyone is on the same level. Lots of other movies as well have simple plots. Star Wars: A New Hope has a very simple plot, given that it follows the hero's journey beat for beat, and it does this to introduce the audience to these characters and worlds. The Empire Strikes Back, its sequel, if for whatever reason you didn't already know that, also has a more complex plot than A New Hope, so who's to say the Mario movie's inevitable sequel won't follow suit? Well, there is one thing that A New Hope has above the Super Mario Bros. Movie, probably multiple things actually: character arcs. A simple story is fine, and frequently common in animated movies, but one thing that most good animated movies have and the Mario movie doesn't is character arcs. A movie that I've seen the Mario movie compared to in many respects is once again the Lego movie. The Lego movie also stars Chris Pratt and Charlie Day, and is about a lovable loser who is taken to a new world by a cool warrior lady that he's attracted to, and he has to defeat the big bad that is threatening that world. On paper, these are very similar plots, and even though there are a few details that make the Lego movie's plot a little more complex, the main difference is the fact that the Lego movie has compelling character arcs. Emmett is a loser who wants to be liked, Wildstyle is cool and capable and wants to be the special, and I can't stress this enough, Benny wants to build a spaceship. The Mario movie, on the other hand, opts out of character arcs. Okay, well, there is one character arc. The dad disapproves of Mario and Luigi's life choices, but by the end of the movie, he comes around. That's it. Mario goes from being not good at doing courses and adventuring and all of that to being good at that. Princess Peach goes from being good at courses and adventuring and all of that to being good at courses and adventuring and all of that. And Luigi is kidnapped, so no character arc there. For a minute, it looked like they could have done something with Mario not believing in himself, but they didn't. But does this movie need character arcs? I mentioned a Mario not believing in himself character arc like 2 seconds ago, but would that actually have been fun to watch? It sounds like the better option until you start thinking about the fact that that would have involved a depressed Mario wondering if he's good at anything, which to me doesn't sound like a fun time. Maybe there are other character arcs they could have done, like Mario choosing Mushroom Kingdom over Brooklyn, but even that doesn't sound like it fits with the character. The Lego movie can have unique character arcs because it has original characters and is based on a brand with no mascot, so it doesn't have to abide by pre-existing lore and meet almost impossibly high fan expectations. With all that said, while the Super Mario Bros. Movie is most definitely lacking in the character development department, it also doesn't mess with its characters, and because of that, they feel congruent with their video game counterparts despite having different accents. The outcome of all of this is, in my mind, just about the best Mario movie possible, but it still results in a not completely satisfying film. So why even make a Mario movie in the first place? Money! It's all about the gold coins. I'm sure you saw this coming from a mile away. Just about every video game, movie, or show is made to make money more than it is to be good, even if it does end up being good. The Super Mario Bros. Movie feels like it was made by people who care about the Mario franchise, which is more than I can say for some other video game adaptations. That's great, don't get me wrong. But what about that would make this movie good? It has no character arcs, nor does it have an interesting plot. There's really nothing to latch onto and make it worth watching, except of course for the thing that feels the most lifted from the games, the fun. While I don't have a lot of experience with Mario games, I can say that the point of them, above all else, is to be fun, or at least the point of the ones that I played. Other video game adaptations like The Last of Us have a compelling story and complex characters, which makes the transition into television much easier. The Mario movie, as I've established throughout this video, has none of this. Because of this, it leans into what it can translate from the Mario games, the fun of them, and it brings that into the film. That's why the pacing is so rough, because it isn't trying to be great cinema. People are comparing this movie to the Lego movie and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but those movies are actually trying to be good. I'm not saying that the Mario movie is better than those movies, because it isn't, but it isn't trying to be, and it obviously fails when people try to see it that way. However, if you look at this movie for what it is trying to be, a fun Mario movie, I think it works, and I think it works about as well as it could have. In summary, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is a fairly easy movie to be disappointed by, if you're going into it expecting a compelling story and complex character arcs. However, the Mario franchise was never built for that, and while that makes for a slightly substandard animated movie that's somehow still one of Illumination's best, it also makes for a fun movie and an all-around good representation of the games. Could it have been better? Most definitely, yes. More Luigi, less needle drops, less joke attempts. Maybe they could have even attempted a unique plot or some interesting character arcs, but they decided to play it safe, and made a movie that represents Mario as a character and brand about as well as they ever could have. And whatever you may think about this movie, at least it didn't have a bunch of poop and fart jokes. I can't even imagine the amount of restraint it must have taken Illumination to pull that off.